Because he is so passionate about this cause, Al Gore has agreed to speak with us during each hour for 24 hours of reality. But right now we have a unique opportunity to hear from this driving force in climate reality, and he's going to answer some of the questions that you guys have. Okay, first of all, I want to know what possesses a man to come on every hour for 24 hours and talk about this subject, and how do you do it?
Well, first of all, Ashlyn, thank you so much for carrying the ball for these first 6 hours.
Thank you.
Really, I'm so grateful, as I am to all of the men and women behind the scenes here who have been working so hard. And what I have done, to answer your question, is little enough compared to all the work that the Climate Reality team and control room put into this. And thank you again. But I think what you're asking is a question that is not that difficult for me to answer. I never imagined when I was a young man, a college student, and was exposed to a great scientist teaching a course that I didn't know anything about. He opened my eyes. I never imagined at that point that I would be devoting my life to trying to solve the climate crisis, or rather trying to mobilize enough people to get a set of solutions to it. When I went to Congress after 7 years after that, I asked what's going on about global warming, and I was surprised that nothing was. And I tried to convince a lot of my colleagues in the Congress that we really needed to take this on. And I found a lot of resistance, and of course it's a complicated subject and so much else going on. So I just gradually got pulled more and more into a feeling that I had to personally get involved in this. Yeah. And I sometimes tell the story, you know, there's a famous song by Sting, Message in a Bottle, but to use that scene of if you're walking along the beach and a bottle washes up with a message in it, and you don't know who it's from, but it says, please, whoever finds this, deliver this message to so-and-so. It's a matter of life and death. Well, anyone would feel obligated to do that. What's the source of that obligation? You don't know either person, right, but it's the right thing to do, and because the circumstances have somehow put you in a situation where you got to deliver that message, or you won't feel right about yourself if you don't, then it's a natural thing. It's not more complicated than that.
You really feel it is a personal obligation.
Yes, absolutely. And like everyone, I love my children and grandchildren, and you know, it's a matter of when you look at it long enough, when you learn about it, you think, wow, we've got to do this. And now we know we can do it, so that's why we're getting all this optimism and hope. Things really are beginning to turn the corner.
There is a lot of hope. And I want to actually get to some of the questions from some of our viewers and followers that you have. So this is from Diana Van Eyck, and she lives in Canada. And she wants to know, are you optimistic about young people and their understanding of climate reality? What are some of the most effective things citizens can do to get our countries moving in a greener direction?
Well, I'm so happy we're going to have a chance, this one and later too, to answer some of these questions coming in from Twitter. Yes, I'm very optimistic about young people in particular, and the poll numbers show this, and other studies show it. It's like a lot of things. When I was growing up, a big part of my life in the South, young people my age had a very different view of civil rights compared to a lot of older people, and I think that when young people look at the world, they're often less encumbered by some of the wrong lessons learned by previous generations. It's not always the case, but I think that young people are really motivated on this. What's the most effective thing you can do? Well, there are a lot of things. I always start with this. If you are a citizen living in a democracy, use your voice. Solving the climate crisis means winning the conversation about the climate crisis. Speak up and contact your elected officials and communicate with candidates for office. I used to be in politics, and I will tell you the secret two-part formula for for convincing somebody in politics to change his or her mind.
Okay, this is good wisdom. Let me get ready for it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
Two parts, a two-part message, but the secret is you gotta really mean it when you say it. You can't fake it. You gotta really mean it. Part one, Miss Candidate or Mr. Candidate, if you do the right thing on global warming, which is my priority, I will do everything I can to help you get elected or re-elected. And I'll mobilize my friends, and I'll donate money, and I'll work. Second part, if you do the wrong thing on climate, I promise you, I will do everything I possibly can to make sure you lose this election and you are not re-elected. If you mean those messages and you're prepared to back it up, and if you can convince some friends to join you in doing that, you will be amazed at how much of an impact that has.
Sometimes I feel like children and the younger generation that can't vote yet, they are so in tune to this and they are so passionate, but they're not at voting age yet. They're under 18. So I like that you made that point, that they can still mobilize their friends, their parents.
Absolutely.
They can vote with their dollar and figure out where their money goes.
Absolutely. Being an intelligent consumer and picking the right choice in the marketplace, that also helps. But even if you're not of voting age, these questions, I've been so moved by the young people on screen asking the why and why not questions. I'll tell you, going back to the civil rights movement again, just for a moment, I remember when kids my age in that day and time asked their parents and their elders, hey, why is it okay to discriminate against people based on the color of their skin? And parents usually want to tell the right thing to their kids. And when they couldn't answer those kinds of questions, that's when the laws began to change. And that can happen with climate.
I agree. Do you really think, in your heart of hearts, that each one of us can make a difference?
Absolutely. I have seen that happen. In the days when I was in elective office, I picked up lots and lots of examples in my own service and communication with my constituents and from stories told by my colleagues, how one person who was determined and who took the time to really learn the subject matter and master it, and who was persistent and passionate, one person can really make a difference. I've seen it happen time and again.
All right, this is coming from Gary Holland from Stillwater, Oklahoma. And I'm going to say this wrong because this is a little above my pay grade, I'm not going to lie. A photovoltaic, right?
Photovoltaic, yeah.
Photovoltaic. I knew I was going to mess that one up. Photovoltaic technology has been around for decades, and I understand new materials have been developed to make photovoltaics more cost-effective. What needs to be done to encourage broader use of this technology by electric utilities and other large energy users? What countries are leading with this approach, and what factors resulted in their leadership with PV?
Great question.
Very good question.
And as we talked about in the first hours today, photovoltaic electricity, that's just the kind of solar cells that turn sunlight into an electrical current. They've gotten way more efficient, they've gotten way cheaper, and the cost reductions, not just in the new materials, it's also in the packaging, the container, the installation, the distribution, the financing models. It's really wild. Some companies will, in some states of the U.S., will put them on your roof for free. And then they'll keep ownership, your electricity bills go down, and they maintain them. So there are a lot of ways to encourage that. Now, why haven't they taken off even faster? Well, one reason is the old way of producing electricity features a central role for the coal-burning centralized utilities, and they have built up a pattern of laws and regulations with their lobbying and with the historical development of the industry, where, as one of our films, the youth fuel films showed, like in Georgia, they passed a law giving the main utility exclusive rights on this. In a lot of places, in order to put solar panels on your roof, you have to get the permission of the coal-burning utility. And in some states, the carbon polluters have convinced legislators to put a tax on people who try to put solar panels on their roof. So we need to get rid of those barriers. And here's another thing. We need to stop subsidizing coal and oil and gas. And we need to start giving more encouragement and subsidies to solar energy and wind energy. There's a little bit now, but 6 times that amount is still subsidizing and financing the polluting of the atmosphere and the creation of the climate crisis. Those subsidies for fossil fuels need to be eliminated.
I agree. I think a lot of people agree with this question. You know, our country is so political and it's so tense right now. Do you see climate reality as a political issue? And how do we get everybody on the same team?
I don't think it should be a political issue. I think it's a moral issue. I think it's an economic issue. I think it's a human survival issue. And I really don't think that it should be political. But you're right that some people have made it political. And again, some of the largest carbon polluters are actually financing candidates to try to attack anyone who wants to make the solution to the climate crisis a priority for the U.S. And this happens in a few other countries, nowhere as bad as in the U.S. But I don't think it should be a political issue. And it's become almost a kind of I started to say a tribal issue. What I mean by that is people tend to pick up sides, and you know, in a time of greater partisanship, people want to fight about things, and if your team takes one view, maybe you don't think about it too hard because you don't want to differ from the other people on your team or in your political party, but eventually that will give way. Where we are now, there are some people who just don't even want to talk about it. If you even bring it up, you know, there's a kind of a tantrum. It's almost like the classic situation of a dysfunctional family with an alcoholic father who flies into a rage if alcohol is mentioned. So the rest of the family learns to keep the peace by never talking about the elephant in the room. And in some circles, the climate crisis or global warming is kind of in that category. So people are afraid to even bring it up because some people just fly into a rage. We got to get past that. I saw that in the civil rights revolution too, believe me. And once you get past it, then you win the conversation and everything changes.
I just think the environment, what can be more bipartisan than that? It's all, the environment's for everyone.
It used to be.
It was Nixon that
Teddy Roosevelt was our greatest environmental president, a Republican president. Richard Nixon, disgraced for other reasons, but did a terrific job in creating the Environmental Protection Agency and a lot of the most important environmental laws. And when I was in the House and Senate, there were Republicans who I worked with hand in hand to make progress on these issues. But some of the ultra-conservative types that, again, receive financing from carbon polluters have just stomped their feet and said, we just won't allow anybody to even talk about it. We've got to get past that the way we did in the civil rights movement.
Yeah. This is coming from another viewer. So Matthew A. Weaver from Genoa, Ohio. How do we convince the general public that green energy is feasible when big money corporations and the media portray only the benefits of coal and natural gas? So exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Let's just talk a little bit more about that. How is that feasible, that we can move this needle?
Well, this questioner from Ohio adds yet another twist to this, because he's right that almost every cable news or cable talk show, one of the 3 biggest sponsors is big coal, big oil, natural gas, and they're always trying to give the impression, hey, we've got your back, don't worry, this is all cool, we agree, as one of the oil companies said. But in the meantime, you know, a lot of them are financing these false think tank deniers that put false doubts out there, and they're lobbying and giving contributions to encourage legislators not to do the right thing on climate. So how do we get past that? Well, one thing we've already talked about, individuals who are willing to get involved passionately in the conversation and in the political dialogue, that makes a huge difference. But there's something else too, and we've talked about it during this whole this 24 hours program. As the cost of solar electricity and wind electricity and some of the others get cheaper than coal electricity, then no matter what the deniers or politicians say, people are going to say, whoa, wait a minute. You mean I can save money and reduce pollution at the same time? I'm in. That's a big deal, and that's beginning to happen in a big way.
I drive an electric vehicle, all electric.
Good for you.
And it was the same price as a regular car would have been. And every time I go by a gas station, I do, a little mental dance for thinking, oh, that is $80 I'm saving. So it's true. What are your personal experiences with solar energy?
I have 33 solar panels on my house, photovoltaic panels. They have been extremely effective, cut my energy bills. I coupled that with redoing the windows, redoing the installation. I also used another option called geothermal energy, not the hot rock kind, but if you dig down a couple hundred feet, you can actually really cut your air conditioning in summer and your heating in winter. And along with all those other options and battery storage of the solar electricity, it's made a huge difference.
I love that. Now, I know that you have some friends that probably don't agree with climate reality.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? And how do you approach them?
Yeah, a lot of people are in that situation and want to know, and I actually pick up tips from others. I think the situation is evolving. I think we're in the midst of a big shift right now. But one thing that I do, I try to choose my words in a way that doesn't, inflame the conversation unnecessarily, but don't back down and don't shy away from speaking your truth, hold your ground, and win that conversation. And you may not do it in the first try. It may take some time, but keep at it. Again, in the days of civil rights, and a lot of people will tell you the same thing about the movement for women's rights and even more recently, gay rights. If I had been told 5 years ago that gay rights would be accepted now and gay marriage would be legal in most states, and I would have said, wow, I sure hope so, but I just don't believe that can happen so quickly.
Yeah.
But it did. I remember reading a story 2 years ago about two gay men waiting in line for a pizza in California, and they were holding hands, and some homophobic jerk walked by and made a nasty comment, and according to the article in the newspaper, literally every other person in that line turned on that jerk and said, hey, shut up, we don't accept that anymore. Wow, that's really emotional for me, because you see in that moment the hinge of history. You see a change. You see victory for what's right. For people who are made the way they are to suffer discrimination, obviously that's wrong. And now the vast majority of people in a short period of time have come to believe, okay, yeah, clearly that's the right thing to do. Let's move on.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Progress.
Well, yeah, and climate is like that too. Is it really okay to use the Earth's atmosphere as an open sewer? 98 million tons a day? Really? No, but it does sometimes take time to frame it in a way that makes it very clear that we can't use the atmosphere as a sewer any more than we use our rivers as sewers anymore. We came to a realization that, hey, that's wrong. Now this is on a global basis, and that too makes it a challenge, but we're part of the same world, and we share the same sky. And when we put pollution in some place, it affects every place. So we've got to solve it every place.
I love the theme for this year, 24 Reasons of Hope. And you have been such a phenomenal figure in this. You've seen a lot of change. What are you most proud of? What change are you most proud of?
Well, I'll tell you what gives me the most feeling of pride. I've trained, by the end of next year, it'll be 10,000 climate leaders. They come for a 3-day course, and at the conclusion of it, they agree to give 10 slideshows per year, and they go out into their communities. Seeing them, feeling the passion in their hearts, setting aside 3 full days, traveling a long distance, going through this intensive training, and then undertaking this. When I see them and feel what they're doing, boy, I am so proud of them. It really gives me a great feeling.
Okay, my last question, I'll keep it quick. To those who feel there's nothing we can do about climate reality, what would you say to them?
Well, I hope they've been watching 24 Hours of Reality, because we're of course given 24 reasons why we definitely can solve it. And by the way, this evidence is real, and it's not just evidence, it's actually happening in the real world. And the fact that we can get electricity from solar panels cheaper than from coal in so many places now, and soon in almost every place, wow, that's not fake hope, that's not manufacturing optimism, that's for real. Yep. And it's happening all over the world. So yeah, we can solve it. We do need to make some changes in laws and policies, and we do need to solve it sooner rather than later, because the 98 million tons we put up there today, 20% of it will still be there thousands of years from now. And so the sooner we get on with it, the sooner we turn the corner, the easier it's going to be to go the rest of the way. But can we really solve it? You bet we can, and we will solve it.
Al, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for sitting down and taking a whole day out of your busy schedule to do this, and your whole year of putting all of this together. We appreciate it.
You're very kind, and thank you again.